to sign. We'll start over again and say good afternoon, everybody. This wasn't on. Right? I just realized you got to turn that on.
I thought you said good morning.
And I may have. Well, I turned on a microphone, so then I say good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. We'll call the meeting to order, and obviously the first thing today is I'd invite everybody on council to look at your agenda. I will accept a motion on the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Tessier, seconded by Councillor Aker. Are there any other additions? I don't see any outside at this moment. I'll call it. All in favor? I'll get contrary-minded. Motion carried. We're moving first, obviously, then to the minutes of the November 2nd Public Council meeting. Moved by Councillor Stoyles that the minutes be accepted as presented, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, Deputy Mayor Locke. Are there any errors or omissions? Errors or omissions from the meeting of November 2nd?
Can Deputy Mayor Locke second them when he wasn't here?
I'm sorry?
Can Deputy Mayor Locke second the minutes?
He can. Can't move it.
Can't move it.
Anything else? No errors or omissions? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Business arising from the minutes of November 2nd. Business arising from the minutes of November 2nd? Any? Going once? Going twice? My God, we're getting so efficient around here. All right, well, the next thing, we're up to proclamations and presentations. We have several of them to make today. The first one, and I'll follow down through them as they are presented on the agenda. The very first one that we have is a proclamation from the YMYWCA. And this is on World Peace Day. I'll read it into, I believe we have Janet King here. Wave at me. We have Janet King down there and Danielle Collins as well. So we're going to read the proclamation into the record here and sign it. It says, whereas the annual YMCA World Peace Week encourages thought and dialogue about peace from a personal, community, and international perspective, and whereas for more than 150 years, the YMCA has believed in and promoted peace-building efforts both at home and abroad, and whereas the YMCA is dedicated to teaching children and youth about the many dimensions of peace, such as tolerance, inclusiveness, caring, respect, and responsibility, and whereas the YMCA World Peace Week has been recognized annually around the world since 1984, therefore I, Mayor Randy Sims, do hereby proclaim November 20th to 27th as the YMCA World Peace Week in the city of Mount Pearl, dated the 16th day of November 2010. And I'm wondering if one of you ladies would like to come forward and talk to us about World Peace Week. All right, and what we're going to get you to do is come up here. All right, we're going to get you to come up here with me and do that, okay? And you want to take a photo, you can do that as well. Okay, you can do that as well. So I'm assuming, Danielle, you're going to do some talking to us?
Well, I just want to thank you.
Come up right here, look. You got to get these microphones.
All right. On behalf of the YMCA YWCA of Northeast Avalon, we just want to thank you for declaring Peace Week, and we'd like to invite you to our Peace Week breakfast on November 26th, 7:30 a.m. at the Holiday Inn, and we also want to present you with this plaque.
And this plaque is Think It, Say It, Do It. YMCA Young Leaders Say Yes to Making a Difference. Peace Week 2010. Right? That's very nice. That's very nice. We thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. And we have your proclamation here. And Danielle and Janet, you can have that. Now, do you want to get a picture, do you? Well, let's sneak out front.
Okay.
Let's do it out front. That's probably better, right?
Sure.
I had 4 or 5 minutes last week.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. YMCA, but there's no YWCA on this separate.
It's YMCA World Peace Week.
YMCA World Peace Week.
And YMCA, YWCA, we are there's some YWCAs here in Northeast Avalon.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right.
But it's YMCA World Peace Week, because not every Y is a Y in YWCA.
Okay, I got you. All right. I just wondered about it, that's all. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Well, thank you very much. And good luck with the week. And I'm sure we'll be represented adequately at the breakfast. Wherever there's food, we're there. We're going to, the second proclamation we have today is for Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month. And we should have, I believe, Catherine Parnell is here, the president. Catherine. We have Carolyn Johnson here as well, and Dulcie Sharp-Turpin. They're both with you. Okay, we're going to read this into the record and sign it and invite you to do the very same thing. Come up and tell us a little bit about your plans. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month is a call to action to advance public understanding of Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And whereas Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month will celebrate the courage of more than 200,000 Canadian men, women, and children living with these two debilitating diseases, 200,000. And whereas Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month will celebrate the courage of more, well, it says the same thing here twice. And whereas Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month will encourage Canadians to help find a cure for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And whereas Canada may be a leader in educating other countries about inflammatory bowel disease, therefore, I, Randy Sims Mayor, do hereby proclaim that November be observed as Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Month in the city of Mount Pearl. And I will affix my signature to that. And if you would, I am going to invite Catherine to come up here with me. And perhaps you can give us a little insight and tell us a little bit about Crohn's and Colitis Month. We don't have everything set up right for this internet thing yet, do we? Not quite. You come up right around here so that you can address council directly.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you so much for having us. The CCFC, or the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of Canada, is a group devoted strictly to research, or to, I should say, raising money for research, because we want to find a cure. So many people don't realize how prevalent this disease is, but it affects 1 in every 160 Canadians. And unfortunately, we don't always want to be the top here in Newfoundland. Unfortunately, in Newfoundland, we have a higher incidence than anyone else. We're not sure why yet. There is some consideration that it might be to do with genetics, because Ireland also has a high rate. But meanwhile, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation is devoted, like I said, to fundraising for research. Over nearly 90% of all funds raised go for research. And we have set up research grants, you name it, looking into this. And you know, our aim is to try and find a cure. They're saying maybe in 50 years, but we're hoping to knock that down to maybe 20 years. Being realistic, that's probably, you know, somewhere between that. Like I said, for people with Crohn's and colitis, it's such a horrible disease. And the other side of it is people don't like to talk about it. You know, you talk about kids in school who don't want to tell their friends that they have this, but you know, they have to go to the washroom, things like that. We've done studies and found out that people having a relapse or a flare-up, or whatever you like to call it, may not go to work, won't go to school, probably won't go on vacation, won't even go shopping if they're having a flare-up, because they're not sure they'll find a bathroom. And it's such a horrible thing. So anyway, our whole purpose is to raise funds to put towards research. And one of the big things we have on the go across Canada now, as you mentioned, we're teaching the rest of the world, it's the GEM project. It's considered genetic, environmental, and microbial, looking at the 3 different ways that you may have picked it up. And what they're trying to do is do testing on the siblings of people who have it. For instance, my son has it, so they're testing my daughter, you see? And just, again, to see, is there some difference genetically? Is there some difference, you know, where did it come from? Anyway, that is what we're all about, and we're trying to promote awareness because so many people do not know. In actual fact, there's more people suffering from Crohn's and colitis in Canada than who have MS. And, you know, it's a pretty horrible thing, and there's no cure. This week in St. John's, we are having our first ever gala for Crohn's and colitis. That will be at the Delta, and I'll just leave this with you. Unfortunately, I don't have enough to pass around, but it does touch on it.
All That Glitters Gala, Friday, November 19th.
Yes.
At the Delta.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for having us and allowing us to address you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and here is your,
Thank you. Thanks very
your
much.
proclamation. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Good luck with the rest of the month. All right, want another snap?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll go back out there again.
Thank you.
All you folks
I am.
Lucy, yes, and then all three of them, and Lucy can take it.
You sure Lucy can handle the camera? What do you think, Lucy? We'll see. Now we're going to find out.
Just front up, Lucy. I think you may turn it.
Front.
I think you may turn it
Oh,
on.
you couldn't handle the camera. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight.
We also have a proclamation, I would imagine council has it, on Restorative Justice Week. We have no one here to address that. We will, however, sign it into force here in the city, and there's some details attached to that as well. We have one other presentation to make, and that is a presentation to our CAO. Our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Lewis, is being presented by the ICMA. And ICMA is an organization, and that's the acronym which stands for Leaders at the Core of Better Communities. And this is a plaque. It is signed by Darnell Early, who is the president of ICMA. And it reads as follows: in honor of 25 years of service to local government, Gerard Lewis is recognized for significant contributions and achievements in the advancement of local government administration, presented at the 96th ICMA Annual Conference, San Jose, California, on October 20th, 2010. And you were there, I think, for this. So this is a very, very nice piece of work and a nice presentation to and recognition for the years of service of our CAO, Gerard Lewis. And Mr. Lewis, I can assure you we're quite proud of you. And we want you to have this, obviously, today. I'm going to put this back in here for you. And thank you, sir.
Nobody got a camera? No pictures, right?
I think everybody knows that Mr. Lewis is going to be, I think, leaving us in March of 2011 and getting ready to retire. He's got too many grandchildren to ignore now, is what he tells me. But he's done wonderful service for us and continues to do so. And congratulations on that recognition, sir. Well deserved on your part. All right, where are we? We are back now to committee reports. We are going to start with community services today. Councillor Paul Lane is going to bring in the report. Deputy Mayor Jim Locke seconding motions, if any. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. First item, we wish to... Hold on now, technology's failed me. We wish to rescind minute 10-11-796 from our last public meeting, in which a tender was awarded for the installation of 2 signs for the Glacier Arena. And basically my understanding of what happened there was that we thought we had gone with the low bidder, but the low bidder, the amount that we had actually, I believe, settled on was for 1 sign, not for 2. We thought it was for both signs, but the amount that was actually there was per sign.
Okay, gotcha.
So once we
Right.
revisited it, knowing that once we revisited that whole issue, we discovered it was actually a new low bidder. And the actual low bidder, which I will bring forward now, we're recommending that the manufacturing installation of the 2 signs be awarded to Parrot Signs at the lowest quote received for $9,380 plus HST, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke. Any question or comment? Hearing none, we'll call it. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Recognizing that Councillor Stoyles will be abstaining for a potential conflict of interest. Next item.
Okay. Next item, Your Worship, involves a piece of open space which is adjacent to number 24 Wellington Crescent.
Yep.
basically, we have situations like this throughout the city where there may be a small piece of open space land that's adjacent to a residential property. And what we do in those cases is we do give the homeowners sometimes the opportunity to lease it for a period of time. So the homeowner in this case did have a 5-year lease, which is now up, and we are recommending that we would now enter into a further 5-year lease for this property owner. And it would be, of course, all the conditions of the original lease agreement would apply in this case. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Question or comment? All those in favour? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
Your Worship, the final item here represents a new first for the City of Mount Pearl. I believe it's fair to say we've been first in many things. We're the only community, I believe, to webcast our meetings. We are, well, certainly the second one now to go with paperless meetings.
We're close to paperless, not quite, but
pretty
we're
much
pretty,
close
we're pretty
to
close.
paperless. You know, the Snow Dragon was another thing. We're the only community to use the Snow Dragon. And once again, we're going to be the first. And as far as I know, and this relates to 2 new ice cleaning units, which are going to be used at our glacier and our new arena, of course, which is attached to the glacier. We are recommending approval to award the tender for 2 electric ice resurfacers for the glacier to the low bidder Saunders Equipment in the amount of $350,379.10, taxes in, and I so move.
Moved and seconded, and that's not each unit, that's both of them.
That's for both units, and again, Your Worship, those are going to be electric units. They're going to be battery operated and so on, and to replace the current propane units that we have. And again, I believe this is going to be another first. This will be the only electric ice surfacers in the province that I'm aware of to go in a brand new facility. So again, it's another example of Mount Pearl being out there, being leaders and being cutting edge, and very proud to bring this forward. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. We'll call the question. All those in favour? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. We are now going to corporate services. And once again, Councillor Lane, it's your up.
Okay, Your Worship. The first item are invoices for approval, totaling $1,048,155.94 for the items listed 1 through 8, and I so move.
Moved, and who seconds corporate services today? That's going to be you today. Moved and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any question or comment on the invoices listed? Anyone there? We'll call the question. All those in favour? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. With a note, would you attach that on item 1, referencing New Cap Incorporated, that I will abstain from that vote due to a conflict of interest, obviously. All right, next item.
Next item, Your Worship, committee recommends approval for Councillor Walsh to attend the 2nd Annual Community Power Conference being held November 14th to the 17th in Toronto. And he's actually there right now as we speak, but we do need a minute of council to approve his travel. That is under that falls under his professional development cap. I so move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favour? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
That's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
And that's it for corporate services. Planning and land use, Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is actually my first opportunity to use our new paperless devices here, so I hope it doesn't fail me. I missed the first couple of meetings where we used these. All right, the first item here, Your Worship, deals with the ratification of some orders here. On November the 3rd, 2010, orders were issued and released for the delivery to the property owners of 4 addresses here, 34 Forest Avenue, and this is concerning the storage of material and debris and the operation of a commercial business. 20 Bannister Street, regarding the location of a hedge which projects into the city's road reservation and obstructs views and sight lines along Bannister Street. 5 Donovan Street, regarding operation of a commercial use in a portion of a dwelling as a commercial business. And 5 Kyle Avenue, regarding operation of a commercial use in a portion of a building at 5 Kyle Avenue, again as a commercial business. Pursuant to the Urban and Rural Planning Act, a confirmation of these orders is required by Council, and I move that and recommend that the issuance of the orders to these properties be ratified by Council.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
The next item here, Your Worship, has to do with the rescinding of an order that was issued to 2 Forest Avenue. And this had to do with the alleged operation of a commercial business and the presence of several taxi cabs in the area. The order was issued, and the property owner actually responded in writing, stating that, in fact, there was no commercial operations or businesses at this particular location, and that only one of the taxi cabs was operational. We did have our city inspectors visit the area, and they confirmed that there was no commercial garage at this particular location, and there didn't appear to be any commercial activity being carried out on the premises. The matter of the removal of the extra taxi cab vehicles, it was felt, could be addressed through a letter to the property owner. The department recommended that the property owner be advised that the additional taxi cabs must be removed and no commercial businesses should be operating now or in the future at this particular address. And of course, to rescind this order, we needed a motion of council. So as such, the recommendation of our committee is that the order issued regarding 2 Forest Avenue be rescinded, and that the property owner be, 1, advised that no commercial business is permitted to be operated at this site. Secondly, that they be advised that pursuant to Regulation 50, Section 4 of the City of Mount Pearl Taxi Regulations, that approval is granted to park only 1 taxi cab at 2 Forest Avenue. And thirdly, that the owner be directed to remove all but 1 taxi cab vehicle from this property, and I so move.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Aker. Any question or comment? Councillor Lane.
Yeah, one, I guess, question or maybe call a comment. I'm pleased to see we're doing this, but one of the things I've noted, and until this really came to a head and we had some discussion on this, I wasn't totally aware on what the regulations were, but we have had, I'm sure we've all had from time to time, I know I've had a couple over the years where, you have individuals who may own more than 1 taxi cab, because I know there are situations where you could have someone who might own 3 or 4 taxi cabs, and they just get different people to drive them for them and so on. And really what we're getting at here, and my understanding of the regulation, is that you're only permitted to have 1 cab on your property. Because if not, whether you're repairing them or not, the reality of it is, if you're living in a residential area, you don't want to have 5 and 6 cabs all parked in on the garden, on the side of the house everywhere. Some are working, some are broken down, some are not broken down, and all this kind of stuff. And that's not the type of activity that a lot of people want to see around, devaluing their property. So while it's great that it's here in the regulation, we're going to do that, I'm just wondering, would this regulation be well known to people who have taxi cabs? Like, maybe we should, as a suggestion, there's really only 1 taxi cab company in town, for the most part. Now, there could be people who drive further, but to get something out maybe to the drivers of the cabs, just to say, to point this out, that because there are other properties besides this one, I can think of at least a couple off the top of my head where there might be 3 and 4 cabs, and they're parked on the street, they're parked in the driveway, they're parked on the side of the house, and all that, where we're having problems. So maybe a reminder to be sent out to that could be distributed to the drivers or to the owners of these cabs that, all that's permitted is to have that 1 cab and not several.
I think we could do that.
Yeah.
Well, if I may,
Councillor Tessier?
I know there's only 1 taxi cab company that operates out of Mount Pearl, but I think the taxis in question are from
A company outside,
a company
yes.
outside of Mount Pearl. So it's not just a matter of contacting the company in Mount Pearl, but also other companies who may have, because the owners may live here. The taxis might operate out of a different municipality, but the owners may live in the city.
Well, given the numbers involved, I don't see why we can't do it. It's only a letter. It's only a note. Okay. Thank you. All right. There's a motion on moved and seconded. We'll call for the vote, or is there any other further comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. The next item here has to do with the Mount Pearl Development Regulations Amendment number 208-2010 with respect to the antenna amendment. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988 and Council's public notification policy, a notice was provided by Councillor Dave Aker at our public meeting on October 19th that a motion would be made for an amendment to the text of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 1988 that, if enacted, will amend Part 2 of the General Development Standards, and the amendments are outlined there. I won't read through all of those. But the intent of this amendment essentially is to ensure that our development regulations are consistent with the Federal Radio Communication Act with respect to the placement and the location of an antenna. Essentially, this amendment arose as a result of an application by the federal government for an antenna. And basically, under our regulation, one of the subsections under our regulation stipulates that when you're erecting an antenna, you must have an unobstructed fall zone, so that the antenna is to come down, it would fall within the boundaries of your property. We responded to this with respect to the federal government application, they requested for a meeting to review their position, and they actually indicated to us that the city does not have the jurisdictional authority to require such an unobstructed fall zone. So that was the spirit of this amendment here. And pursuant to our public consultation policy, the public was advised that a briefing session was scheduled for November the 9th, 2010 at City Hall to discuss this antenna amendment. A notice of the briefing session was posted on our city's website, advertised in the Telegram, and no submissions were received indicating any sort of public expressions of interest to attend this meeting, so as such, this briefing session was indeed cancelled. The Department of Planning and Development is recommending, approval of this, and as such, the committee supports this and is recommending that Mount Pearl Development Regulations Amendment Number 208/2010 be adopted, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
The next item here, Your Worship, deals with an application that we received from Budden Morris Law Office on 184 Park Avenue for the extension of their paved parking. And they wish to extend the pavement in the front and at the west side of their property, again on 184 Park Avenue. And there's some pictures and maps included in the kit for council and staff here. Mm-hmm. The department has no objection to the increased parking on the west side of the property because it's within the rear and the side yard parking lot, which can be accessed from Riverview Avenue. So that's not the issue. However, the extension to the front of the paved parking is actually contrary to city's regulation, and in particular Regulation 50, Section 4 states that the parking facilities required by this regulation shall, except in the case of single or attached dwellings, be arranged so that it is not necessary for any vehicle to reverse onto or from a street. And as it lies there, if we were to extend this parking area along that side, I guess it would be the south side of the property, the cars would have to back into either onto or in from the street. So it's contrary to our regulations. Just to point out, however, that when the road was being upgraded, Park Avenue was being upgraded, prior to the upgrading, there was a low back there, and you can see in the picture that's included in your kit there, that can accommodate, I think, 2 parking spaces. And when the sidewalk and the curb was being upgraded, the low back was extended right along the south side of the property to the east extent of their building. Now, they indicated that they were, this reduction of the low back or extension of the low back had been approved by the engineering division at the time, but they have no indication, no support of this in writing that this was in fact approved. In any event, this doesn't constitute, just because the low back was put in, that the city approves the extension of their parking area. Again, the department, when they reviewed this, they have no objection to extending the west end of the parking lot, but that parking lot along Park Avenue is contrary to our regulations. As such, we're recommending that the application for the parking at the side and the rear be approved, but the portion of the application for the extending of the parking lot along the front of the building, along 184 Park Avenue, be refused, again, because it's contrary to Regulation 50, Section 4 of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations, and I so move.
It is moved, seconded by Councillor Aker. A couple of questions on this one. Mm-hmm. The parking lot that's there now on the front of the building then must already be in violation? Is that the case?
That's my understanding.
Like the parking lot that's there must be some kind of tolerance or something, is
yes,
it?
Your Worship. The current situation with those parking spaces, yeah, it is contrary to regulation, and as you stated, it would be definitely a tolerance.
And if we allowed them to do that and expanded that tolerance, if we became more tolerant, we'd be adding how many parking spaces?
3 more.
Just 3 more. And the ones on the back are going to add how many?
I'm not sure. 5, is it? 3 more on the back as well? Well, let me have a look at our map here and we can see.
I was looking there, and I maybe it's just me. These pictures are the wrong orientation on this thing. I can't.
Yeah,
get
when you
them
go to turn it, it spins. So you
yeah,
can
I
never,
can't get it oriented properly. How do you do that? What?
I think it is another 3, Mr. Yevchek, on the back as well. In committee, Your Worship, when we discussed this,
Right.
we realized, and you know, I said 2 spaces, but apparently there's 3 spaces there now, parking spaces. Looking at the picture here, and these 3 spaces predated Mr. Yevchek's time at the city, so he had no recollection of you know, any permission or tolerance being granted here. But the feeling was that if we extended it the full length, now you got 6 parking spaces there potentially, and that would pose a greater hazard than the 3 that are already there. So that was the feeling of the committee.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Other than as you drive down Park Avenue, I think I can point out at least 2 buildings that have a situation where they have a number of parking spaces where they would back onto the street. Now, maybe not. I'm thinking of the building on the same side, for example, where the little jeweler is now located. Tasty's used to be in that
Today's
building.
jeweler.
That building? They would have 8 or 9 parking spaces like that. Now, I could be wrong. It might be a deeper parking lot, because that's the issue here, isn't it? It's the depth, not the width of it, that you're dealing with.
Well, yes, Your Worship, you're correct. There's probably several properties, and most of those properties are the ones that I would call them like local commercial uses. Used to be, some of these properties used to be residential properties. At one point, got converted to a commercial use.
Right.
They don't have the lot depth, so you have dwelling vehicles basically pulling onto the lot and backing out onto the street. So that what you're trying to avoid under the regulations is a continuous ribbon of that kind of situation for commercial properties. In residential properties, of course, there's you have a single driveway, so it's difficult to do it that way. But for commercial properties, the theory behind it all is that there should be enough room to have a controlled access in and off the site and parking within the site itself. That's the thinking. But you are correct. There are other properties that do have that situation.
And again,
I'm just wondering, you know, our reasons for not allowing him to do this, which are regulatory, and I appreciate that. But we have examples of it in the city already, and we have examples where people have to literally back into the street, including in front of our own building here as we sit. There's I don't know how many, 15 or 20 parking spaces where people, when they back out, are backing out into a 2-lane street. We have that here. You know, and I would argue that what we do here is more dangerous than what Mr. Budden and Mr. Morris are proposing. I'm just not sure that we're not being regulatory
And the other thing, Your Worship,
wise,
that
but maybe blind to the reality of what's going on in that street. That's all.
the depth of the front yard may also be an issue here, as it says, and I failed to point this out earlier. Portions of these new parking spaces would actually be in the city's road right-of-way, as the depth of their front yard is not sufficient to accommodate the parking spaces as well. So that would be another consideration.
Okay, all right. Anyway, those are my anybody else got any comment on this before I call the question? And I'm not being overly critical. It's just I feel like a little, you know, it's like the thing that happens whenever we do something with somebody's shed, and they say, well, you're telling me I can't build a shed because it's under an easement, and he looks up the street and there's 9 of them. Yeah, it's kind of, I can't help but think the poor old Morris Budden, the law firm, is going to say, you won't let me have those 3, but I can just look next door. You know, anyway. All right. Anybody with another comment? Councilor Tessier, want to add to this?
I just wanted to make a comment about, you know, you compared it to what we have here at City Hall, but what we are doing at City Hall is encouraging people to back in, as everybody should do.
So let's make a rule for
safe
Mr. Morris that people who use those lots got to back in.
Yeah, well,
But the regulation even states that
yes.
you can't back in or pull in. That's in our regulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway.
all right. Okay, well, he's going to get an additional 5 or 7 lots right out of this as it is. Okay.
So it's not
Anybody else with a comment or thought before we close debate? You can do that if you want, Mr. Locker. We'll just call the question.
Okay, I was just going to say, we also considered, you know, the fact that they are going to be putting in additional parking spaces. So we didn't feel that this would, impede or harm the business
Oh, no,
to
this
any,
is an improvement for them, no
to any
question.
great extent. We were just looking at it from a public safety perspective. That was the whole spirit of our discussion at committee level, Your Worship.
We'll call it on that. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
Okay, thank you.
Next item.
The next item, Your Worship, is the development permit list for the time November 1 to November 12, 2010. We have one item here for the address of 13 Corey King Drive, and I move that this be accepted as presented.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary-minded? Carried.
And the last item, Your Worship, has to do with the
Boy, can you read that on this thing?
residential and commercial building permits.
Huh?
You can just widen it. Former councillor would love
Tap
this.
with 2 fingers. Oh, I got it. Okay.
There you go.
See, actually.
So for our residential construction for the time period November 3rd to November 12th, 2010, our permits total $215,200. They were non-registered under the commercial building construction. So this brings the total again for this time period for building construction to $215,200. And I move that these amounts be accepted as presented.
It is moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
And that is it for me, Your Worship.
And
Thank you.
that is it for you. Okay, and that's all committee reports. We're up to new business. I have no idea where we started last council meeting. I wasn't here. We started with Councillor Aker. We're going to start with Councillor Tessier. We're up to new business.
Just a couple of things. First of all, congratulations, Mr. Lewis, on the recognition of many, many years of hard work. It's, of course, been our good fortune to have you here for the last, I can't remember how many. You tell me, 20? 22?
Since 89. He's been here since 89.
Good Lord, you've been here. I was graduated out of high school for 2 years when you came here.
I was still in high school.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm just kidding.
Uh-huh. Anyway, congratulations to you. It's well deserved.
Sure the deputy mayor never ever left high school.
This is true.
Still there.
Still there.
Still there. Of course, we all know that our recycling program started today in the city of Mount Pearl. I took advantage of a very popular radio show yesterday morning to remind our residents. And, of course, the mail-outs are gone out as well. And I'm happy to say that I actually took a call last night from a senior citizen in our community who was not only appreciative of the program, and wanted some clarification about what they could recycle, not complaining about it or anything like that, just going, okay, that's fine. Yep, I can do this, I can do this. And even went so far as to say, well, when are we going to be able to recycle our Christmas gift wrap? Because it doesn't seem right now to be able to, or to have to throw that out, if we have to throw it out. And
I guess you can't you?
no, you can't. It's
Christmas
listed-
gift wrap can't go in with your paper, your
It's
fiber?
listed as one of the things that you cannot recycle.
Well, that's it. Now, why would that be, I wonder?
Colors.
I guess it doesn't
I
break
don't-
down the
who
same.
knows?
Who knows? But in any event,
Yeah.
my point is, it was nice to have a positive discussion about what we're doing.
People are going to get engaged with
About
it,
what we're
hopefully, in the
doing,
process,
so-
yep.
I actually suggested that he do what I do, and it's kind of a lazy way out, but it's good. I use those bags and I reuse them every single year.
Absolutely.
All the time. And also, as council is very fully aware, a very, very lovely member of our community has passed away. Ruby O'Keefe passed away late last week, and we all are very familiar with the O'Keefe family, of course. Her husband, Pat, is a former councillor here in the city of Mount Pearl, and Ruby has been just a marvelous community-oriented individual herself. I also know her from my day job. She attended our breast cancer retreats as well. Just a gorgeous woman, and I know that we probably have already, as a city, acknowledged their family, but certainly wanted to pass along our sympathies as well to their family.
Absolutely.
And if
Absolutely.
anybody visited the funeral home, which I think we all did,
Everybody did, I'm sure.
it was wall-to-wall people, which speaks volumes about their family and about their contribution to our community. So I just wanted to pass along my condolences
Here,
again.
here. Thank you for that. Councillor Lane.
Yes, Your Worship, I certainly want to echo Councillor Tessier's sentiments regarding Ruby, and I did attend the actual service at Mary Queen the World Church. I have to say, it was the biggest crowd of people I have ever seen at a funeral in my life. The seats were full, and were actually people lined up across the back wall and both side walls of the church standing. So it certainly was a testament to Ruby and to Pat and the family and so on. We certainly pass along our deepest sympathies. Your Worship, couple of things. First thing, I just wanted to note that the Northeast Avalon Joint Council meeting will be tomorrow night in Flat Rock, and Councillor Staw's laughing there. But I wanted to raise it from the perspective, not from the perspective that that's what has happened. I'm not trying to steal your thunder on that one, but I understand. I got a notice as Mount Pearl's rep on that Ken Kelly from the Eastern Waste is going to be in attendance at the meeting tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. So I guess the commentary that was made, that I certainly made at the last meeting about how disappointed that I was that with the communications of the raise and tipping fees, I will certainly be raising that tomorrow night at the meeting. So he's quite clear on that. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that the Mount Pearl Blades are now still undefeated. They're 4-0, I believe, and they got a game Friday night against Bell Island here at the Glacier. So we want to get out there and support our team, and hopefully there's going to be a hurler in the future. And the last thing I just wanted to ask, I guess, just for the purposes of the public, whoever might be watching these meetings, to Mr. Lush, if you can give us all an update, because I've had people inquire about when is the Glacier going to be finished and when is the pool going to start and all that kind of stuff. So maybe if just very quickly, for the purpose of anyone who may be watching on the internet.
Your Worship, I expect the Glacier to be finished and up and running sometime in April. They're going to do some testing and commissioning, so things will start happening in December on the ice surface, but I don't foresee it being actually ready to open until April. And as for the multiplex, the plan would be right now that it would go to tender in February, and we would hope to have a spring start and about probably 2-year construction period.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That April was about. Was it originally supposed to be like 1?
No, March, April.
And then it was going to be January, February. Is that
no?
April, is that new?
When I say April means it's finished.
Yeah.
And not partly finished. There will be ice on different things, but I expect it to be completely commissioned and the contract to be off-site in April. There will be things that will happen before that. That's not to say you might be able to use the facility, but my idea of finished is finished.
Yeah.
As-built drawings, contractors off-site, and staff run the entire place, and we have our hands clean of it. So
and she's done.
That's why there's a lot of different endpoints. My endpoint is the actual end. Because there's an end point again, like tomorrow is the end of the week, but it's very hard. People keep saying different dates, but that's when I expect it to be done.
Here. Question from Councillor Aker on that?
Yeah, just perhaps a question for the CAOs, the acting director of community services. What I'm trying to find out amongst all this is when, not when the ice is going on, when will the first hockey game or practice or the first figure skating competition, when do you think that would be? Because I hear what you're saying about the building being commissioned, finalized in April. Are we talking a window somewhere in between January and April that might happen?
No, I don't think so. I think the bottom line is we're still scheduling to put ice down, to train the people on the eco-chill, to do all of the commissioning and train all the people in the operation of that and go through that. We're putting ice down as part of the training so people get an opportunity to see it working and everything. But until the commissioning is done, turn over to the city on March 31st, I don't see any users being able to go and use, because again, it's still construction in phase. There's still insurance that hasn't been turned over, finalized to the city.
Of course, it's recognized as well, though, that once this facility is open in April, it's also going to have ice year-round.
Correct.
So you're going to see this facility used in May and June and July and August for hockey, for training schools and figure skating and all of that. Once it's commissioned, it's commissioned, right?
Yeah, it was only a question of time, because the timelines, we know, have shifted several times.
Well, that's to be expected, but no, this has been, this is pretty well, this is, this is pretty well scheduled, pretty good, actually. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Firstly, I too want to echo the sentiments and sympathies that were extended to the O'Keefe family, as well as extend congratulations to Mr. Lewis. It seems that all of our senior management are receiving accolades, so well, that's it. We're blessed with the staff we have, and we just want to let them know how much we appreciate all they do for the city. The last item I would like to mention, and I brought this up some months back, about, again, the crosswalk at Michener and Ruth Avenue. And again, the number of near misses that I see there with the kiddies crossing there in the morning. I raised the question to see if we couldn't delay the light, because that was brought forth to some residents. Can we have a delay on all reds so that when the kids are crossing, because what's happening now, as I said before, the light is turning green, the walk sign is on, the kiddies are walking, and then cars are coming out in the intersection, and they're scooting between kids, because not all the kids come across in a group. You might have 3 kids come, then there's a 10-foot space, and there's another 4 kids, and anxious drivers are scooting between the kids on the crosswalk, and it's just a matter of time before someone gets clipped. And I raised this question before because I indicated that the light coming out of the Dominion up there on Old Placentia Road has a delay. And when I raised that before, people suggested that it wasn't the case and that I was mistaken. But I have counted it. It's a 7-second delay coming out of that Dominion. On Saturday night when I came out, all the lights were red for 7 seconds. So no cars could go through that intersection. So the pedestrians coming across had ample time to get across. So my question again is, can we possibly look at putting such a delay in at that extremely busy intersection just in the mornings, just from 7:45 until 8:20 when school begins, and then during the lunch hour period? Because I see too many near misses there, and I'm just wondering if that's something that we could have a look at.
Mr. Lush, can that be done? That's a pretty finite time frame he's talking about.
Your worship, it can be done, but it can't be done at certain times. It has to be done all the time. We can't control it. We can't program the controller only at certain periods of time. It would have required the upgrading of the controller. Not that it can't be done, but the controller won't allow it. That's there.
Yeah. So you can do it with a new controller.
What sort of cost are we looking for?
New controller, probably going to be about $70,000, $80,000.
So my question is, I know we're upgrading intersections with. Can we possibly use that controller in another intersection that has yet to be upgraded and bring in the new controller for that area?
We can look at it and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I think you'd have to bring it to Public Works and see if we can't do a swap somewhere. You mean in the system?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
try and
because
get that done.
if it means we got to upgrade the controller and it means protecting the kids, I'd like to look at the cost of it to see what.
Okay.
Let's see if we can't make it happen.
Fair enough.
Your worship, I just want to make a quick
Hold on now.
comment on that if I can.
Councillor Lane and then Councillor Aker.
No, I want to concur with Councillor Locke, and I brought this up in the past. I know Councillor Tessier has as well about that particular spot. And it's not just there. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. There's kids there, and I've seen it myself, and it is a hazard there waiting to happen. I agree with you. But and it is scary. But, there are other areas too. I mean, I've seen near misses, for example, and that's what you get into. I know, because then you say, well, what about other spots? I've seen it. I live in O'Flaherty. I come off of Nelder Drive. You make the left-hand turn there by Sobeys, right? And it's the exact same thing there. You got someone there in the corner. I know there's not the same amount of people, but someone is there on the sidewalk, on the corner, and they're walking across the Sobeys at the same time. Now, you're here waiting for the light. When you finally get it, it's like, make your left. And as you're making your left, that person is walking. And I've seen near misses. I've had near misses reported to me there as well. So it's the same issue, I think, everywhere, perhaps. But I certainly concur that in a school zone like that, it's even worse. But I don't know why we wouldn't be over time. Supposing we had to do budget 1 or 2 a year until they were all done. I don't know why we wouldn't have that anyway for all of those intersections. It is a safety hazard.
Indeed.
So I'd like to see us go beyond that and look at
I guess
a
your
plan
worship.
to do it over time for all
But I
of them.
guess the problem
Lush.
is also that it's more of a policing issue. You can put the best controller in the world, and the sign says don't walk, and pedestrians walk, and drivers go on across the crosswalk while people are walking. The controller won't solve that. The controller won't solve the issue of what you're talking about. It's actually an enforcement issue where people decide that they have the green and someone's on the crosswalk and they will go ignore the pedestrian's right.
I guess the question, Mr. Lush, I know what you're saying. You can have any kind of sign or lights, and if people choose to ignore them, I agree with you there. But the point is, and I think what Deputy Mayor Locke is saying, is that people won't have the green light. They can't make a left-hand turn because both traffic in both directions. If I'm a pedestrian and I push that thing and that walk sign comes on, no cars are going in either direction until I get across. So now I can't make that left turn on a green light because the light is red. So there's like a 7-second delay or 10-second delay where people can walk and nobody can move in any direction. The traffic has to stop totally.
Until the crosswalk
Light is off.
hand comes up, and then the left arrow will.
Yes. And I've seen that in other communities. I've seen it everywhere. I don't know why we can't do it. It's
Okay,
beyond me.
all right. Councillor Raker first, then Councillor Tessier.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I was just going to make the comment. We went through the engineering department's capital budget this morning in committee. So why don't we refer this item to the budget process, and we'll weigh it against all the other options. I think it is a fairly busy and dangerous intersection. Typically Monday to Friday, on the peak of the school hours, and I think if it's $70,000 or $80,000 to switch out a controller, it might be money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tessier.
I just want to weigh in a little bit. I agree with the recommendations that obviously it's got to go back to committee and it's got to be discussed, for the logistics and to make sure that it's something that would work and be effective. In the meantime, a lot of traffic, a lot of drivers, whether they know it and ignore it or whether they just don't know, they don't realize that you're not supposed to. If somebody's on a crosswalk, it doesn't matter if you've got lots of space to move your car. They're not supposed to do it. They're not supposed to do it until the pedestrian is on the sidewalk. So my question is, because a lot of people ignore that. They do ignore it. They think, well, they're gone enough now for me to proceed. I wonder, is there a way to post a sign in school zones, and I'm not saying just in this one, maybe over by St. Peter's as well, is there a sign that has been created, or can it be created, to put at the intersections that says it is illegal to proceed with a pedestrian anywhere on the crosswalk? Or drivers must wait till pedestrians have reached the sidewalk. Or it is the law that drivers must wait till pedestrians reach the sidewalk. Because I'm not sure that a lot of people realize that is the case. And, even that extra reminder, maybe they don't know.
Again, I'm going to say I think you've got to really refer it to the committee, and they're going to have to take a look at it. There's even policing expertise needed to be called in to answer that.
Yeah, well, I think
that's my point.
I don't mind them in school zones. In school zones, I don't mind, especially if it's something new. If it's
All
something
right.
new, they notice it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else on that? Okay, Deputy Mayor. You're done. Moving over here, Councillor Stoyles.
Yes, Your Worship, I too want to pass on my sympathies to the O'Keefe family and certainly congratulate Mr. Lewis. A couple of other things I want to mention is the Pearl Awards took place a little over a week ago, and want to say a great job to the planning department and to the staff for all the work that they had put into it. I know Councillor Walsh is not here, and he had, done a lot along with the Deputy Mayor, so I just want to say great job to all the staff and all the hard work and all the community businesses and to the individuals who do such a great job with their gardens. I mean, the pictures was unbelievable, and I know when we go out knocking on doors campaigning, which happened a little over a year ago, we see all the beautiful gardens, and we get invited into some backyards too to see how nice and what a great job some of them do. So it was great to see so many community-minded people nominating their neighbours and that, but I like to see it expanded next year and see more and more, because there was an awful lot of people probably that didn't, nominate their neighbours or friends.
That's true.
And maybe it's something that we can advertise a bit more next year and try and encourage more and more people to get involved.
Here, here.
And the businesses were certainly unique in their designs and that, and it's great for us to see that kind of stuff. And of course, it's the middle of November, and before we know it, we got the Santa Claus parade coming up early December and the tree lighting. So, there's only, another couple of weeks away before Santa will be in town. And just wanted to remind people to get their shopping done.
Thank you very much. Councillor Aker.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And I too would like to pass on condolences to Pat O'Keefe and family on the passing of Ruby. And congratulations, Mr. Lewis. Job well done. I hope the next 25 years are as good as the last 25 years. Back in September, we had a discussion here in our public council meeting about about an oil spill that occurred up in Powers Pond, and there was a couple of major concerns. Obviously, the amount of spillage and how it affected the environment within our city and the use and enjoyment by residents and wildlife alike. And plus, under Director Lush's leadership, we spent a lot of time and money basically investigating that oil spill. So I wonder if I could get an update perhaps from the director where that stands now, both in terms of have we defined where the spill was and who's responsible? And then secondly, is there any, are we making any progress with regards to recovering our cost? Thank you.
Mr. Lush.
Your Worship, we spent approximately, say, $70,000 to date. 70,000. North Atlantic is currently taking over the containment of the spill. They haven't accepted responsibility, but they're now in the process of, I guess they are containing it, and they're working with us, and would appear that they, I guess they're really speaking with their lawyers to see where the next course of action is. But they have found an active leak on their property, and they confirm that, and they're in the process of putting in some monitoring wells and doing containment more so on their site, but they're down by Powers Pond as well, looking after that. So we've been following up to make sure that they're actually doing that. So things are moving ahead.
So they've contained it, right?
Yes.
And they've contained it on their property. They were doing stuff down at Powers Pond.
Yes.
They found the leak.
Yep.
But they're not taking responsibility.
Not yet. I wouldn't say. I guess they're cooperating like you would expect, but they're not going to take complete, or they're not going to take responsibility until the proof has been put before them that they're actually responsible. So I think they will. It's just a matter of them having the proper evidence put before them, and then they will accept responsibility. But at this stage, I guess they're being a good corporate citizen in the sense that they're actively down, they're taking control, and they're containing it, and they're dealing with the leak they have on site.
So the environmental piece of this is now contained and being handled.
If that we assume that's the source, then yes.
Well, I'm 99.9%
No, I guess you
sure
can't
we've
say
got
that
the
it's-
source now identified. Yeah.
They're
Okay.
doing. I guess they're cooperating with us and doing what they can do. So we're pleased with what they've done to this point.
Have we sent them the bill for the 70,000 or so
No,
that we spent?
not
We
yet.
haven't done that yet, have we? Because are we going to incur more money, or are we finished with it now that they've taken it on? And are we going to submit the bill, or have we already submitted the bill?
Our solicitor has contacted them and provided them with notification that the province has identified them as a source, and we'll be seeking compensation. So it really sits with their legal department, and it's really, I guess, more so a legal matter. All I can say on the ground is that they're being proactive and they're working with us. So,
Thank you very much. That it? Councillor Staw's done. Councillor Aker, you're done. Well, like everybody else, I want to pass along, obviously, our sympathies to the O'Keefe family today. Ruby was a well-known member of our community, and her husband has been, well, even a member of this council, I think, at one point in his history, and was awarded an award as a community builder, and they are tremendous people. The outpouring of support from the public kind of indicates just how significant and important they were. Congratulations to Mr. Lewis, 25 years of service being recognized. It's well earned and well deserved on your part. We had the pleasure of hosting Federal Minister of State for ACOA, Mr. Keith Ashfield, here last week, and we had the opportunity to tour the new glacier installation with him and to have a look at the new EcoChill system and what they've put some $4.5 million into. And we also had a chance to ask him for more money. Which on every possible occasion I asked him for more money, and now we're going to write him a letter looking for more money for the multiplex. But overall, he was very impressed, I think, with what he saw. Very impressed with the energy efficiency program that's being put in place. Very impressed with the fact that this is very much a lead or cutting-edge energy and environmental program that we're implementing here with this new glacier and with the new multiplex. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to, have that carry even further abroad than it has with people already. And I'm anticipating good things from that. Having said all of that, I have nothing new to add. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. It is moved by Councillor Lane. We stand adjourned.